What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Spare Change. Today we've got Patriot Day 4K Blu-ray disc. We're not going to get too much into the film itself. We're going to talk about the AV quality. But first, let's take a look and see what we have inside. The packaging includes slipcover with matching case artwork, 4K and standard Blu-rays, and digital download code. Alright guys, we just got done watching the film. Now a couple of tech specs. The movie was shot with the Alexa XT camera at 3.4K. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes long. The audio format is in DTS-X, so it's immersive. Aspect ratio is in 240.1. So if you guys are watching this on a television set, you guys are going to get the letterboxing on the top and the bottom. Bill, what do you think about that picture quality?
I thought it was great picture quality. This movie is different than some of the other 4K movies I've seen. You're taking into account a lot of actual news footage, so it goes from being 4K to actual like news camera type stuff, so it kind of comes in and out of 4K. The first part of the movie is very fuzzy, almost as though it's kind of trying to capture some kind of a memory of the morning before, and then when the bombing goes down, shit gets real, and that's when you're in 4K, bang, the whole rest of the movie. The rest of the movie shot very nicely. Some really good overhead scenes or exterior scenes. The houses and all that in the first part, very tight, very 4K, a lot of depth of field. But then the interior shots were much softer. And then, as I said, when the bombing actually happened, then the rest of the footage is, it's in 4K. Some really, really gripping moments. For me, not reference quality, but very, very good movie, on top of the fact that 4K really adds a nice depth and really brings the emotion to the forefront.
I think there was a reason why you said it's not reference 4K quality. And you mentioned something about that. You threw a term in there, your own little term.
So there's a lot of handheld camera shots, especially when they're getting ready for the race, and there's a lot of kind of happy chaos going on that they're trying to get things in place. And it was called 4K throw-up vision because it's really, really deep. It's very, very sharp, but it's moving around so much, and we're watching on such a large screen that it literally made my stomach kind of heave a minute.
Yeah, so it's like it's sharp when it's still. So when it's still or when it's slow. Examples: flyover shots of the city. Another example would be establishing shots of houses wherever main characters were going to be. Those were some examples where the visuals were very, very sharp, very 4K-like. Some standout scenes for me, number one would be there was an officer that had to, and there may be a little bit of spoilers here, but there was an officer that had to watch over a boy who was killed during the terrorist act in this film. And right away, everything is still, just like we mentioned. So right away it's sharp, and it's a wide shot. Officer's right there, body's on the ground of the kid. Right in the background, you have a sun peering right into the street. HDR moment right there all the way.
Yeah, great HDR moment.
Great contrast, great color, absolute amazing clarity in that shot right there, just like the establishing shots. Another shot was when Marky Mark was in his cop car, and he shined his flashlight right across the screen. He panned it across the screen, and whoa, almost got blinded, right?
Yeah,
almost got blinded.
Bright.
So it was really, really bright. Another HDR moment right there, stand out. I enjoyed overall the 4K throw-up vision that Bill mentioned. It's very much like you see in Michael Mann films like Heat or like Miami Vice.
Yeah, I mean, to me, as I said, it was for the beginning of the film very soft, but after the explosions, everything comes into very, very tight focus, especially the ambulance crews, the medical attention. You see a lot of detail in the wounds, so just be ready for that. I think that was, to me, it kind of like snapped your attention right to the forefront. It really kind of went from soft, happy chaos things going on to immediacy, and this is what happened. This is the fallout of this event.
So HDR does kick in those times. Also aerial shots, nighttime aerial shots, which are abundant in this movie. Great depth in that. You can see a lot of shadow detail, buildings, cityscapes. Well, very, very clear in these shots. Also the outdoor shots right before the marathon kicks off. Great shots of the city. HDR kicks in there. Great depth of field, as these guys have pointed out. Detail straight down the street there. I don't know what street it is, but you feel like you're there.
I think Mark Wahlberg knows. Marky Mark knows.
I think it's actually Boylston. It's the main street of the that the marathon finishes on.
Only gripe I had with visuals, not necessarily the technical side of it, but just titles. Kind of pulls me out of a film when I see titles on the movie. If a character shows up and he's a new character and you see a name right underneath his face, it kind of pulls me out. As far as visuals are concerned, right, titles on a film when a new character is introduced kind of throws me out of it, but nonetheless.
Alright, so audio. Onto the audio. This is in DTS-X, immersive sound.
Mm-hmm.
As you guys know, we have 4 overhead speakers for the height channels, and obviously bed channels are 7 channels. Great sound, I thought, all throughout. It's a pretty active mix. You can hear either the score going on, mixed in with the overheads. You can hear a lot of ambient sounds, a lot of helicopter flyovers throughout pretty much half the film after the explosion goes off. When the explosion does go off, great kick in the chest there. Very good low-end rumble. You can hear debris flying all over the room, people screaming, all kinds of chaos happening there. What'd you think?
I thought it was a very nice mix. You know, everything going on up to the race. You've got helicopters flying over the newscast. You've got, you know, cops talking. You've got people in the background talking. You know, spectators gathering for the race. Everything, a lot of stuff going on, and it all blended very nicely in the sound. You really had a feeling like you were there. And then, as Shane said, when the explosions actually happened, it shook the room, and again, it felt like you were on the street. A lot of other scenes in that movie in terms of, you know, the helicopter flyovers, when the TAC teams are going house to house, a lot of that kind of stuff. Those moments of tension are really well captured and really aided well by the sound in this, the mix of this sound.
We're at the beginning of the film when Marky Mark's knocking on the door to, I guess, one of his friends who was, what was he doing? He was in some trouble. One of Marky Mark's friends was in trouble in this movie, and
He's got a smoothie. He's talking about a smoothie.
yeah, he's talking about a smoothie, which
don't leave your smoothie plugged in.
Yeah, how you gonna leave a beverage plugged in? I can't plug this in. Even if I made a real smoothie, I couldn't plug that in either. But this guy was talking about an iron nonetheless. But anyways, before he goes into
it's a Boston thing.
Yeah, before he goes into that apartment, you can hear the TV in the ambience of the mix.
You hear the traffic outside.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just all around you. It throws you right into the film. You know you're part of this story at that point. And once you're there, you're there. So once that bomb goes off at the race, you feel it. Just like these guys mentioned, you feel it. And for me personally, when I first heard it in this mix, I got scared. So the sound design in this film, on point. These guys did an amazing job, because if you can get me scared that way, and it's not a horror film, because of sound alone, mixed in with the visuals that they threw in, body parts, blood, you've got me sold on a great mix right here. DTS-X all the way is solid in this one. And not too many times do I see very, very good fights in terms of gunfights. But in this film, there was a really good gunfight at the end, and that mix was great. Bombs, gunshots, ricocheting bullets, assault rifles, like it was good. Like it was amazing. It
was all around you. It was, yeah, that was definitely I kind of missed that one. Yeah, that big fight at the end. Excellent sound quality for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great sound quality. For me, I'm gonna give this mix a good 8. Good solid 8. Very active mix, I thought. Good standout sound mix. It's not gonna hit reference for me. Obviously, it's not a bombastic action film, but for ambient effects alone, for atmospherics, for good emotion within the score, the mix, good 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Shannon on this. I'm gonna give it an 8 as well. As he said, not a super big action flick, but the moments of tension, the explosion, as Elias said, the gunfights, solid work, on point, definitely an 8.
Yeah, going back to the gunfights, aside from the gunfight at the end and the bombing, everything else, a lot of ambience. There's not like stuff whizzing past you like in the background and stuff. One of the references I have as far as surround sound goes, and I'm gonna bring it back to a kind of an old movie here, but it's The Dark Knight, and That's one of my favorite moments in surround sound, in a surround sound mix. Now it's probably like true HD master audio or something, but when Harvey Dent's inside the van and the bullets go around the van, that's a really good reference for me. You don't hear anything like that in this movie, so I'm gonna give it an 8.5 though, because of the raw emotion that the audio lent to the film and to what I felt when I was watching it. So audio for me was like really important in this one. So 8.5.
Absolutely.
Picture quality, I liked it a lot too. I give it an 8 because it was good, but it wasn't like every shot wasn't still, because there was a lot of camera movement. It's like you can't see the clarity of 4K, but that's fine though, because that lends to the overall film being a great film. You got to make a little I guess they had to make a little compromise there to get you into it, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this not quite an 8. I'm gonna give it a 7.8. Only because they did use a variety of stock footage from newsreels from back in the day, security surveillance footage. So mixed in with the good 4K resolution with HDR. Also, I'm gonna say about 20% movie, maybe old stock footage where everything was kind of blurry, obviously not really blurry, but lower resolution. So 7.8 for me.
So I know we're doing 4K quality review, and it's about 4K and the quality of the 4K. But there's also more. The film goes beyond that. You have to kind of think in terms of what the director was going for and how he used the camera sharpness. He used that resolution as a tool.
Don't forget about the HDR.
And the HDR. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 because I like the fact that I like the mixed in stock footage, the news footage, things like that. I think that adds reality, kind of, brings you into it. The quality of the 4K at the beginning had that soft quality. We kind of had to think, well, what are they doing here? But then when you piece it out and you kind of figure out how it aids in kind of building up to the actual event, and then when the actual event happened, the way he snapped it too, that was a really, really effective use of the 4K. So I'm going to give this an 8.5 for the overall construction of the movie and how he used the 4K.
There we go.
There you go. He's going on thematics. I'm going for overall picture quality.
And I'm going for emotion. That's not a surprise, is it?
All right. So is this movie safe for kids?
No.
No. Way too violent. Lots of blood. And hey, it's Boston. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Boston. It's not safe for kids. Bunch of F words right out the gate.
Yeah.
Replayability?
I really like this movie. It was very gripping for me. I would definitely watch this, again.
Absolutely.
So I would say, for me, out of a 1 to 10, I'd probably give this a 5 or 6 replayability. Because it's one of those movies you have a few drinks and you get all patriotic and gung-ho and you want to watch it again.
I'm going to give it like an 8.5 because I want to see it again. I want to see it with different crowds. I want to see how they react. And the pacing was good. I had distractions on my phone, right, that I can't share with you guys, but it was that good to where I was like, okay, like I want to keep watching this. I want to see what happens. So 8.5.
I'm gonna give this thing a good solid stern 4 for me. Good movie, not something I want to see again, but hey, I'm different than you.
That's fine. We can't all have the same ratings. That's what we're here for.
Alright guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up.
Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And don't forget to check out that next video that's coming out. Like I said last time, it's going to be a good one.
Cheers.
Don't forget to subscribe.